Okay. Hi, welcome to this live show with Hotel Management School. My name is Manish Gupta, and today we are going to talk about the latest tips and the trends on digital marketing for hospitality. I hereby welcome Chee Seng. He is a seasoned content marketing professional. Welcome, Chee Seng. So Chee Sang has been doing the content marketing for a long time. He's a mentor. He teach the digital marketing to the students, and he is also a good renowned figure in Malaysia. So today we are going to talk about what is digital marketing, what is content marketing, and how it helps the hotel in current crisis times. Many people may think that there is no business, hotels are closed, so we don't need to do marketing, but that's actually not what recommend. We are recommending action plan where you can still continue your marketing efforts and be productive. So Chisang, I will hand it over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much, Manish, and welcome and good morning to everyone. Well, it's morning here in Malaysia and also in Myanmar where Manish is. But if it's other time zones, then greetings to you as well. Thank you for having me here, Manish, and I'm really glad to be here speaking on this. And I think it's a really, really important topic because COVID-19 has really affected everyone, and I think most of all is the hospitality and tourism industry. So, yeah, this is really, truly a very, very relevant topic. Let me just share the screen, and then I'll just go straight into the presentation. Right. The topic for today is can topic for today is digital marketing for hospitality, practical tips. Now, I want to open up with a little bit of a challenge for our thinking. Oh, wait, hang on. I want to challenge our thinking a little bit.
View, reader view.
Reading it.
Yeah.
When we talk about marketing or digital marketing for hospitality, I believe majority of the hotels or tourism sites or even tourism operators, a lot of them would be showing things like this: the service level, the facilities level, the design, the beauty of your facilities, your amenities. But these are important and these are good to highlight. But I think the most important thing that often gets lost in communication is the people. Why do people stay in hotels? If we really think about it, how much time do they spend in the hotel? When people are on vacation, how much time do they spend in the hotel? So they might be spending 8 hours of sleep, in which case they are not aware of what is in your hotel and what your hotel has to offer. They might spend a couple of hours eating in the hotel, right? So they might enjoy some of the other facilities, but all in all, they don't spend most of their time in the hotel. At least half of the day, or at least a quarter to a half of the day, they will be outside of the hotel. And probably a third of the day they'll be sleeping, so they would not be aware of your hotel. So I think the important thing, and I think the key thing that's moving forward into this presentation is to remember that people uh, are at the should be at the core of all our communication efforts, right? It's not so much about our hotel or our facilities or our service or our quality, but how to make that relevant to the people for the needs that they are looking at during their vacation or during their uh, whatever events that they're attending, right? And using the facilities for. That should be the core of all our marketing and communication messages. So, give me I'm going to take like a 15 minutes to go through the fundamentals of content strategy, and you will see where I'm coming from and why I say putting people at the core is very important. And after I've gone through these fundamentals, then I'll go into some case studies. You can ask any questions along the way, and we will look at the questions, and if either we will answer it later or answer it right now if it's relevant. And Manish also can go ahead and stop me if you want to ask any clarification questions. So the fundamentals of content strategy, I think instead of, or rather before we go into actually saying what content are we going to put out and how are we going to get sales, before we even get to that stage, we need to start by asking the right questions. And I've got a 5-question framework here. Number 1, why do I want to create content? Number 2, who am I speaking to? Number 3, why should they listen to me? 4, how do I want them to respond? And 5, how do I find and reach them? Now, a lot of businesses, not just hotels and hospitality, but a lot of businesses, why do I want to create content? Because I want to generate leads and sales. Who am I speaking to? Everyone who wants to buy. 3, why should they listen to me? Because I've got this quality and quantity of products. 4, how do I want them to respond? I want them to call me and make a sale, make a purchase. How do I find and reach them? Well, these are the places, the social media perhaps. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but I think it's not deep enough, right? Going back to the first 2 slides that I showed you, the sample answers that I just gave you, it really just goes back to the first slide where we are talking about ourselves, our services, our brand, our facilities, our offerings, our expertise, and all those things. It's all about me. It's all about us, right? But if we from the second slide, we saw actually it's not just about us. It is actually more about the people, the customers. What are the customers' needs? What are the customers' desires? What are the customers' aspirations? What are the customers' expectations? And what experiences are the customers looking for when they are at that place? And my contention is they are not going to be very aware. Honestly, they are not going to be very aware of the hotel facilities that they are staying in, because most of the time they are not going to be in the hotel, or they're going to be sleeping in the hotel. So what they want is a vacation, and the hotel is a part of the vacation that will enhance their vacation. So what we want to do is actually really go into the mind of the customer and speak to what is in the customer's mind, such that they will remember us and prefer us. So we need to go beyond this is about us and this is what we have to offer you, and go into a more outward looking paradigm. So I'm going to go through this one by one quickly. First, why do I want to create content? As I mentioned just now, a lot of people, companies create content because, number 1, they want to showcase their expertise, their products. The goal is to generate leads and sales. That is the what. This is the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. So every organization on the planet knows what they do. These are the products that they sell or the services. Some organizers know how they do it. These are the things that make them special or set them apart from the competition. Yes, some actually dissect the products and services to find their unique point or where they can differentiate themselves. And then thirdly, the why. Very few organizations know why they do what they do. Why is not about money, that's a result. Why is a purpose, cause, or belief? It's the reason your organization exists. Now, this might sound a little bit spiritual. This might sound a little bit, high concept. But this is actually very important. When this first came out, I think about 10 years ago, I think Simon Sinek is very visionary. He understood where society was heading. And we can see it today during COVID-19, um, in the pandemic era, when before the pandemic era, a lot of people were spending time on screen, and people were complaining, yeah, well, they don't know how to relate anymore. But during the pandemic that we're in now, we are spending 10, 15 hours on screen, and we are realizing that what we really crave is not more screen time. What we really crave is connection. Because the world has changed around us. Many parts of the world are still under lockdown. Malaysia is under lockdown now. And I haven't seen anyone other than my immediate family for a very, very long time. Haven't had any physical contact with them. So what we are craving is connection. Okay, and if as a brand, if as a company, you can create your content in such a way that it builds a connection with your customers, it is even more relevant now in the COVID-19 era than before. Before, some companies realized it, and they understood the importance of it, and they are doing it. But now is the time when it is even more important, when people feel the need for connection even more. So this part is really important to really understand why I want to create content. We will go a little bit more into it a little bit later in the presentation. But I think as a starter, this is a good question to ask ourselves in order not to fall back into the thinking that, okay, this is for generating leads and this is for generating sales, and it doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
Secondly, who am I speaking to? Okay, this is where it starts getting into the meat of the matter, right? So there is in communications, some of you might know there's something called an audience avatar. The audience avatar is basically a fictional person, a fictional persona that represents your typical customer, right? So this could be male, female, adult, children, whatever it is, but it should be as descriptive as a real person as possible. For example, instead of saying we are targeting women from 25 to 35 years of age, an audience avatar will be, this is Melissa. She is 27 years old. She is let's say, for example, an insurance broker. She is married with 2 children, and she is having these issues with the children. She loves the children very, very much. She has 1 boy, 1 girl. Ages are 7 and 10. Oh, sorry, 27 years old, can't be 7 and 10. So she may be like 1 and 3. Her husband's name is this. Husband's profession is this. They live in a house. What kind of house? In which area of town? What is the financial commitment to that house? What is the financial commitment to their cars? What is the financial commitment for their household expenses? What are the interests of this person? So as much as possible, this avatar should be a real human being, right? As we do this, we then start to get an idea that we are not speaking to an entity called audience. Because when you speak to an entity called the audience, it's faceless, it's mass. So it becomes, your voice to these people is like a person standing on a stage speaking to 5,000 people. It's impersonal. It's impersonal not only in the sense that you don't understand, you're not able to directly understand and speak to their needs. It's also impersonal in the way you speak. For example, instead of saying, are you frustrated with your children? You might end up saying, dear parents. Well, I'm not a dear parents. My name is Chee Seng, and I'm a father of 1 daughter. Right? So the way we speak is affected by whether we have a very clear audience avatar or not. So when we say dear parents, for example, then you're addressing everyone, but at the same time you're also addressing no one in particular, right? So when you set your audience avatar, you make it very, very personal. So if you have, for example, a few different target audiences, set one audience avatar for each target audience and make it such that your communication speaks directly to that one person. Then it becomes very personal. And this is important because on the receiving end of the communications, they will feel that this is a very personal message to them, because uh, they are part of the typical person that is in that audience group. And I think I'll come back to this a bit later. Thirdly, why should they listen to me? Once we have the audience avatar, then we can identify their pain points, right? So, for example, let's say, for example, I had an experience when I went to a hotel in Singapore, and I did the booking through an online site. The pictures on the site were really beautiful, but when I went there, there were cockroaches everywhere. From the moment I opened my door until 15 minutes later, when I decided to check out and cancel my booking, there was non-stop supply of cockroaches in the room. So to understand the audience pain points, you need to be able to anticipate whatever whatever
Problems.
concerns and expectations that they might have in mind. So, for example, very clearly, that hotel had no idea at all about what the customer pain point was, in such a way that they didn't even take care of their premises, but they were very happy to put forward these beautiful photographs, right? So, what in the COVID-19 situation, of course, I think in our discussion that day, Manish also mentioned this. The pain point is it safe to go to your hotel, right? So then, of course, you have to create some content that addresses that, right? What kind of what kind of precautions you take. But again, it's not enough to just show people spraying disinfectant in the rooms. We need to make it, remember, relevant back to the people. So the creativity and the ideas of how to make your features and your functions relevant to the people, so that it becomes a benefit and a desire. Now that is the magic sauce, right? That's the secret sauce. So basically, it is really, you need to understand your audience pain points, and it all comes back to this, right? A lot of times when we put up content, we are expecting to come immediately to this stage. We expect them to be prospects, and we want to turn them into customers, right? But for somebody who is on social media, they didn't come to social media on Monday to look at hotel pictures so that I can decide where to go. I might not even be thinking of travel at all, especially at this time, right? So the customer journey or the audience journey, you have to keep in mind, most people are casual. They'll be scrolling. They won't spend much time on anything until it captures their attention, right? And if some content from one particular content producer captures their attention a few times, then they become an interested viewer. Right? Because they start to remember you, right? And if it captures regularly, then they will think like, okay, this is somebody I think it's worth following. I want to get updates from them, right? If you continue to satisfy their content consumption habits, then they will become your fan, right? They might recommend you to somebody else, to come and look at your content. And when it comes time for them to consider, okay, maybe I want to travel next year, let's say in June. Now then they'll start to think, Okay, who can I contact? Where should I go?
Mm.
Then that starts to become your lead, because then they remember you. If they
Yeah.
take action to call you, then they're a prospect. And if they decide to buy from you after they've called you, then that's a customer, right? And then after that, there's their experience with you. If they're delighted, then they'll become your advocate on social media or wherever. So we
Mm.
have to understand the social media audience journey. We can't always target that this is our prospect and this is our customer. The content that we produce has to take into account where the customer is on this journey. And that also ties back to the concept of the customer avatar, right? So when this 27-year-old lady called Melissa with two children is casually scrolling through her mobile phone, will something capture her attention enough to pause and look? Now, if she's not in the frame of mind at that moment, which means she's not a lead or a prospect, she's not in the frame of mind to actually be thinking of purchasing a holiday trip, then your content that focuses just on attracting leads, prospects, and customers, it will just be gone
Yeah.
because it's not relevant to her,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So you have to also present content that will capture people at any stage of this audience journey.
So means you need to have multiple contents targeting at each journey, each level of journey.
Yes, that's right. And once we have identified them in their audience journey, then how do I want them to respond?
Mm.
And this
Mm.
is important,
Mm.
right? So not every response has to be a call. Not every response has to be a sale, right? We can have a objective of I want engagement, and what kind of engagement. So these things have to be clearly identified, right? So if you want engagement, what kind of engagement? Okay, I want comments and shares. Okay, what kind of comments are you looking for? Because
Mm.
if you put something controversial, you will get a lot of comments. But are those the comments that you want?
Yeah.
So you have to design your content around your objectives, around your purpose, right? So let's say I want people to comment, or rather, an indication for me that my content is working is when people comment, "This is so beautiful," for example,
Mm.
right? If I have the chance, I would really want to visit here, for example. So
Mm.
if these are your targeted responses, then you will have to design your content to generate these kind of responses. If you
Yeah.
want to, if you want the responses to be shares, because you want to, distribute your, spread your brand name out organically. So you will have to design your content in such a way that it inspires people to share.
Mm.
And even then, you have to identify why people want to share. So, for example, you have a sales program, member bring member. Okay, fine. Then you can design your program around that to get shares. An example I can give you was I did a campaign last time for a what was it, a unit trust. So they had a festive season campaign, and sorry, it wasn't it was a car battery brand.
Mm. Mm.
So the campaign was, we wanted the brand to go out into the market, organically. So we offered a mechanism, a game. We offered a prize, but part of the mechanism is, after you have done this activity, you have to tag how many people and share your uh, activity on social media,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm.
So that's how you spread. So um, how your audience responds also depends on where they are on the uh, audience journey, right? So
Mm.
you need to sit down and say, okay, this person is okay. Today I want to target this group that's in this audience journey, I would like them to have this kind of impression about me. And the indications that I know that they have this impression about me will be 1, 2, 3, or whatever that is. So plan that out and then design your content around that. Finally, how do I find and reach them? You have to plan your channels, and you have to know your channels actually. Facebook has a different game from YouTube. YouTube has a different game from LinkedIn. Has a different game from Twitter. Has a different game from Instagram. Each one of these platforms has their own strengths and limitations. I won't say weaknesses, but they do have their limitations. They have individual strengths. That's what differentiates them. And because of their strengths and limitations and differentiations in how content is produced and presented, it also affects audience expectations on each platform. For example, on Facebook, you can put up a long story about the experience you had on that day, random experience you had on that day that somehow you got some insight. You won't be able to do that on Twitter because Twitter is 140 character limit, right? Or you could break it out into a series on Twitter. It's possible, that if that's how you want to do it, but it will be like short, very short bites. So you still have to rewrite your copy to fit within that short bites. On Instagram, if you don't have a picture, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And your picture has to conform to a certain standard. Facebook, Twitter, you can put whatever picture you like, it's fine. But on Instagram, because it's very visual, if your visual does not stand out or at least meet a minimum standard, you're not going to get noticed. If using that same story, you want to go on LinkedIn, for example, LinkedIn is very, very professional. So if you don't have some kind of value add, professional or personal development value add to people, and it's just a rant, it will not get attention. In fact, it might get negative attention.
Yeah.
On Facebook, you rant, you probably get positive attention because your friends are there. Your friends want to support you. But on LinkedIn, it's a professional network. People expect you to be professional. Right? So you have to plan your channels. You can have the same content, but how you execute the content must be adapted. And you have to identify where your audiences are. Are they on Facebook? What are the demographics of Facebook? So will your audience be likely to be there? Or are they on Instagram? What are the demographics on Instagram? Are your audiences likely to be there? So plan your channels and plan your content accordingly to reach your audiences. Right. So I've got a quick case study here of some great examples of hotel digital marketing. Manish, are you still seeing my slide deck, or are you seeing the web page?
Slide deck. So I think
Okay.
you need to change the screen.
Yeah. This is a great web article that I found on the web. So you can take note of this title and you can Google it later because I'm just going to go through this very quickly. So this is a great example that I find of a hotel. Their differentiating factor is we love for you to have pets in our place. So it's not just we are a dog-friendly hotel, right? How do you make it human? It's like this, right?
So they are talking in the dog language. Woof, woof.
Yeah. So woof, 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 gruff, roof.
Yeah.
So it's funny, it's cute, but exactly, if I have a toy dog like that, I feel these dogs are really cute and funny, and that's how you humanize it, right? By being creative. So instead of sending you, we are dog friendly, come and visit us because we have the facilities to pamper your dog, blah blah blah, which is typically what people do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do it this way.
They wanna emphasize the facility, but instead of that, what this hotel is doing is trying to make a connection with the dog owners, because if let's say I don't have a dog, I won't find this cute. But
Yeah.
since the dog owner would find it very cute, so basically
Yes.
this is what it means by targeting the audience and understanding their pain points. They want to have some hotel which is pet friendly, and the way to communicate them is obviously through this way of woof woof. I mean, in a dog language, so they would
Yeah.
find it engaging and more humanized.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. So, well, of course, nobody expects the dog to read read this, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is how it attracts people, right? It gets the attention,
Mm,
it gets the message across, right? In a very interesting way, right? Very human.
mm,
Uh, and then the details very straightforward, but still cute.
yeah.
Another way to do it is in through podcasts. This is done by Meryl
Manual.
Bonvoy. Yep. So podcasts, if you look here, podcasts focus on niche but relevant topics to engage regular visitors to its hotels. So it's not just talking about hotels; it's talking about topics that touch their target visitors' lives,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm.
So,
Basically, they are making a relationship with their customers and not
yeah,
talking about the hotel, but talking
mm,
about something else which still engage with the brand. So
that's right.
um, a hotel brand is not talking about the hotels, but talking about the other topics which their regular customers are concerned about, maybe.
That's right. So one of the things here you can see, it talks about the city,
Mm, mm,
right?
mm.
So it talks
Yeah,
about
I
what
mean,
you can see in the city.
there is a timeless advice usually. Chee Seng, is in the hotels we say you you should promote your destination as well,
Mm,
but this is a great example of how it can be done. Instead of just say, oh, we are in this beautiful city and these are the facts of this beautiful city, rather than that they are trying to bring out the history of
yeah,
the place by the podcast or by having some influencers and checking it out, basically.
yeah. And I think a lot. I mean, it's not just the hotel industry, but I think businesses in general. There
Yeah.
is this scarcity mentality that if I open up the space wide enough, I'll be giving business
Mm.
away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, if you open up the space wide enough, you are actually welcoming more people, right?
Yeah. And since you
So
are
it,
the one who is giving the idea, so you are the first preference mostly, yes,
yes,
because people
exactly,
will remember when they come to the city. Oh, this is how I know about this, so they have a better connection. Of course, you
exactly,
have a competition in terms of rate, in terms of location, in terms of product with the other competitors, but you are likely to gain more by doing this rather than losing.
exactly. Because if you see the Marriott branding is already there, and so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
become
yeah.
the thought leader. They become the leading contributor to adding value to their target customers' lives. So even if they
Yes,
go to Philadelphia, I think easily you will stand a higher chance when considering if the customer is considering between hotels, right?
yes, yes.
Because you have already contributed, you have deposited goodwill into their lives, and
Yeah.
goodwill
It's in
in
their
any business is
subconscious.
always a strategic advantage.
Correct, correct. I mean, the merit is already in the subconscious of the customers.
Yep. This one not so relevant. This one not so relevant. Oh, but you might want to explore this.
User generated.
Virtual reality tours.
Yeah. Now, virtual reality tours are very common and very famous, but
Mm,
they are also expensive
yes.
to do. But
Yeah.
that's one way to enhance the facilities and sticking out compared to the other, because one of the question that we were also about to ask is, when there is a lot of media, everybody knows the same thing, everybody do the same things, and how you stand out. How do, because there are, let's say, 10 hotels in the city. So how will you stick out your content among those 10 hotels? So you may have to do something unique, some which somebody else is not doing. So it
Yes.
may be involving money, it may not be involving money. For example, the video, that the next example that you can see, Shangela is using the user generated content. So maybe
Yeah.
they are not doing their own efforts. They are
Yeah.
asking the users to generate the content and
Yeah.
post it. So it makes it more reliable because it's not the
Yes.
hotel who's doing it; it's more the users itself.
Yep. And sometimes you can see great pictures like this, right?
Yeah,
Fantastic pictures. So
yeah, yeah.
and you're right, Manish, because when it's user generated, then people know, hey, this is not marketing. This is not paid for by somebody
Mm,
to make themselves look good. This is real, right? So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
another
And they
bit
are
of
free influencers.
credibility and goodwill that you can't buy. You can't buy it.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. And that's the free marketing. You are getting a free
Yep.
model.
Yep. So storytelling, very
Yeah.
very important. So it's not just meet the makers, Charlotte Flower of chocolate. So this one is talking about uh, different
Introducing
aspects of the
the
hotel.
manufacturers. Mm.
Yeah, different aspects of the hotel that are, and I think sometimes when we are within the operations of the hotel or whatever business that we're in, it becomes so normal to us. There's
Yeah.
no story there. We think there's no story there. But let me share with you.
Mm.
I was once asked to help a sugar production company, a sugar miller. They wanted to do a corporate video, and they weren't really happy with the script. So we my team was asked to come in to help to look at the script and tweak it. And we were brainstorming, and we just couldn't get around it because they didn't feel anything special. We didn't feel there was anything
Mm.
special about good sugar. What can you talk about sugar? Until they called their team of engineers in there, and they started to explain to us the process, and we were saying we don't understand all these technical words. Can you explain to us in something that
Yeah.
more layman? And when they started explaining in layman's words, suddenly lights started to go off. Oh, this is so fascinating. Oh, this is how you do it. Oh, you have these
Mm.
many stages. Oh, this is your purpose of this machine. And then what happened was the script, instead of being a very generic or technical kind of script, it became sort of like a BBC Richard Attenborough kind of tone,
Mm.
right? So it's full of curiosity. Oh, this is what happens, when the sugar comes, when the raw sugar comes in and it goes, and then and the tone completely changed, and it became really compelling, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's good for us to actually look at our operations from fresh eyes and see how we can turn different things into stories.
Yeah, I mean
Like
the storytelling is another topic that we want to talk about is
yeah,
because everybody is now, I mean, a lot of research is saying that storytelling connects the human behavior,
yes,
and our brains are easy to understand the stories rather than the hard facts, because hard
yes,
facts come very hard and it goes into our logical mind,
yeah,
while the stories create emotions and they goes deep into our inner brain. So you are
yeah,
able to connect very easily through the emotions. So storytelling is something which is very very important to
yes,
master. You can tell stories via, I think, images, via videos, via text. So you have multiple ways of telling the story, but you have to have a clear compelling story, right?
exactly, yes. And I like the Gary V model. So the Gary V model is he does one long content. For example, he goes
Hmm.
and delivers a 30-minute talk,
Yeah.
right? So during the 30-minute talk, he takes the recording and maybe he chops it up into 2 to 3 minute segments. So he's got like
Yeah. Yeah.
5 or 6 videos there. Each 2 to 3 segment, he may chop up into a little one 30-second preview. So from one talk
Hmm.
now he's got three, right?
Hmm.
And then he can put it into text posts. He can put it into infographic quotes. He can put it
Hmm.
into slides. So
Hmm.
there are many ways to stretch your content. So you can have one long content, and you can easily make 10 or 15 postings from that.
Basically,
Right.
repurpose the same content.
Yes, that's right. And make into various formats, make into video, audio,
Mm.
podcast, infographics, sliders, short videos, and any kind of way that you can do it.
Yeah. I have seen mostly at the moment hotels are sticking to only the images or at
Mm,
best some of the videos, but the videos are also like professional videos because a lot of hotels, five-star hotels, four-star hotels, they are very worried about their image and they don't
mm,
want to go into a shaky video or they want to have a very perfect video with the
mm,
beautiful artist and with the makeup and with the proper director and a setting. I
mm.
think maybe in the current times, probably the hotels should also look at not so perfect videos, not so perfect content.
Mm.
If I mean, of course, you have to have a minimum understanding that okay, it needs to
Yes.
be able to watch, it need to be able to hear. So your audio and your visual should be clear enough, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be like a movie grade. Because you
Yes.
are connecting with a human.
Yeah.
So even if it's not perfect, it's fine. I mean, you gave an example of Gary Vee. His videos are sometimes not able to hear because there is a lot of background noise because he is
Yes.
recording
Very
live
raw.
there. So there are very, and he put out the raw videos as well. So it doesn't, it means that you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be effective. And hotels, I don't normally see they are trying the other formats or other videos like podcasts or the PDFs or the slides, or mostly relying on the images and videos and
Yeah.
text at best. But
Yeah.
uh, ideally they are not, I mean, usually there's no other type of content that they are using. So I think that's a great advice to repurpose the content so that you have a larger audience, because as you said, there are different audience avatar, there are different needs, there are different channels, and every channel has a different way of doing things. You may have to repurpose the same video, same image into multiple formats and
Yeah.
multiple lengths. So length are also not different, right? Maybe
Yeah.
Instagram is 1 minute video and can go up to 60 minutes.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is maximum 10 minutes. Facebook is maybe 360 minutes. So
Whoops. Is it? I think Manish is probably has been cut off. Yeah, it's true. So yes, we need to have a little bit of freedom in our thinking, a little bit of daring, definitely, to really think of content that is outside of the typical content that we normally put out. And this is where we can really start to get creative in how we are going to add value to our consumers, to our customers, such that they will remember us when it's time to give business away. And of course, if we keep adding value to them, we keep adding goodwill, depositing goodwill into their hearts and minds, the chances of them remembering us first when it's time to make a purchase decision is much higher than anyone else who didn't add this extra value to them. So now I think let's move on. I think the big question now is how and what do you market in a COVID-19 world where travel is basically uh, almost non-existent now, and hospitality and tourism will probably be non-existent for the next couple of years, or at least a year more, right, until the vaccines start to roll out in significant numbers, and start to take effect. Then people will start considering travel again. So what are we doing in the few months until then, right? If you don't have a product to sell, and even if you have a product to sell, your facilities are still there, and people are not even able to buy. So what do you market in the COVID-19 world? Do you really need to do any kind of content marketing at all? And my answer is yes, simply for the same reason as we mentioned just now. We want to deposit goodwill in our market or our audience's hearts and minds, so that when it comes time to make a purchase decision again, they will remember us first. So the principles remain the same as what I mentioned just now, the 5 questions that we need to ask ourselves first. But I want to do a little bit of case study, which I think is a very, very excellent case study of how you can market your service or product when during COVID-19 is impossible to sell, right? So I'm going to take GSC as an example. GSC is a chain of cinemas in Malaysia. And because of the COVID-19 outbreak, the first outbreak, I think they closed for, I think 3 months or 4 months, or 2 months to 3 months. I can't remember exactly, but they were definitely closed for months. And then they opened again, and sometime, I think they only were allowed to open for 2 months with some social distancing rules. And after that, when we had our second outbreak, they've been closed, and they've been closed for the past 2 months now, completely closed, right? So how do you market your your brand or your product when you are closed? So let me show you an example of what they have done, which is actually really, really interesting. Hmm. So what GSC has done during this time, they have really caught the imagination of the Malaysian cinema goers with their very funny, really, really very funny posts on social media. And this became a catch. This has become a catchword in Malaysia now. Hello, cannot. And it started from a post, from this post. It all started from this post, where they were first allowed to open again after the first lockdown, and there were some questions of what can and cannot be done, and so they used a very colloquial local kind of English, right? I come with boyfriend, girlfriend, cannot sit together, meh? I come with my friend, can sit together, from same house, cannot, So these are very, very colloquially local Chinese style of English. Can sit on my lap, And so the final answer that GSC gave was, hello, cannot. And this really went so crazy viral. You can see 22,000 likes, 6,000 comments, and it's been shared 27,000 times because it's so silly and so on point. The most important thing is it's silly, it's funny, but it's on point. And what they even had, do they have it here? No. It became so famous, they even had hello cannot merchandise, t-shirts and a mask and things like that. And so that became their secondary revenue generator, right? To keep the business afloat. And there were a lot of other stuff. So like for example, this one, this is based on a local movie called KL Zombie. And so what they did was they asked their staff to dress up like zombies and wear masks to remind people that, okay, that's what you do when you come and watch movies in the theater again. So this is done very, very creatively. So instead of having a poster of an infographic of people wearing masks and this and that. No, well, this is really, really creative how they did it, right? So let me show you what they have to offer right now. So they are offering, in terms of movies, nothing, right? Top 10 movies, zero. Promotions, well, they have one, and that's about it. So because the cinema is closed, but and very frankly, they just be very upfront about it. GSC, see you soon. But they do have these things, care packs, right, to keep their business going, but also to keep their brand in people's minds. These are cute. These are relevant to famous movies, which becomes relevant to their business as a cinema brand. They've you can see the popcorn there. They've partnered with a local food delivery service called Grab to deliver their concession stand food. So at least something to keep them, the revenues churning. It may not be much, but more than that, it keeps the brand in people's minds, right? Let me show you one more thing, which is their social media. Okay, let me show you their Facebook page. So this is their Facebook page, and you can see, yep, they have their concession stand food delivery here. Tributes to film stars, happy birthday wishes, posters. But even if they're selling the posters, uh, this is realistically only in March, and even then, it's not really confirmed. But but okay, let's say for example, let's look at this one. They won a platinum award for the best cinema brand. So, uh, hello again, platinum. So it's play on the hello cannot concept that people are so so much in people's memories, right? And hello, platinum. And the tone of voice you can see is very, very fun. Scrolling through Facebook memories, be like, wait, let me show you something that's. Okay. So this was an announcement. This was after the announcement that the lockdown was going to be extended. So something that's very relevant to people. Everybody feels like this, and this meme has been circulating around Malaysian social media anyway, right? 4,100 shares and 17,000 likes, 745 comments. Their usual movie stuff. What else is there? This is also something very relevant. Over 5 cases, 3 days, 5,000 cases. This is tracking our COVID-19 numbers. So you can see that it's a lot of content that is relevant to audiences in a tone that is very fun, but at the same time, it's relevant to their business as cinema. It centers around movies, it centers around entertainment. They're selling care packs, collaborations with other brands, but created very, very creatively. All right. So now, what is the purpose of GSC doing this? What are they selling? Let me just share my screen and then I will. So let's bring it back to the 5 questions. Why do I want to create content? Who am I speaking to? Why should they listen to me? How do I want them to respond? How do I find and reach them? Now, GSC has 3 channels: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and they basically share the same content across the channels. So let's look at the first 4. Why is GSC creating this content? Who are they speaking to? Why should they listen to GSC? And how does GSC want them to respond in a COVID-19 situation? So if you have, if you want to try giving this, try answering this, just type it into the content box, in the chat box, and let's see. All right. So what is going on here is, let's start with question 2. All right. What is going on here is, we can see that they are taking a very fun and youthful tone, because in Malaysia, according to cinema attendance and cinema attendance and cinema going audience in Malaysia, a study done by Wang Chang Song in 2019 from the Xiamen University of Malaysia, just under half of the respondents in his survey, or 49%, are aged between 18 to 23. And another 18.2% are within the age of 24 to 29. So we are looking at about 70% of cinema audiences aged between 18 to 29 years old. And and in the gray box, you can see in totality more than 70% of cinema goers are young adults between 15 and 29 years of age. This was taken from a trade magazine in Malaysia. So majority of cinema goers are very young. And so that's why you don't create content that's very stiff, very, what do you call it, formal. They know who they are speaking to very clearly. And so that's why they create content in this way, very, very on point with the target audiences that they are speaking to, right? And why are they creating content? Again, as I mentioned just now, when you cannot sell a product, when it's impossible to sell your product at this time, the only thing you can do is to deposit goodwill into your target audience, so that when it comes time to purchase again, they will remember you, and you will be the higher choice, or even the first choice, when it comes to buying again. Right? So So you can see that GSC is doing this very, very effectively. The number of shares they get, the number of likes they get, the number of positive responses they get. And if you have time, go to the GSC Facebook page and look at the type of responses. These are not, and they have many, many responses, some of them thousands of responses. And these are not, um, and these are not formal tone of voice response, right? These are like two good friends talking. They're using local colloquialisms, local slang, right? And they're just bantering like between friends. And this is what we're talking about when you deposit goodwill. Because if you, between regarding you as a business offering good quality products, and between people considering you as having a friendly relationship with. Now, let me throw you a question. If you had two people offering similar products, would you go for somebody you feel friendly with, or would you go for somebody who gives you a very highly professional image? Would you do business with between two people who have similar competencies? Would you rather do business with somebody you feel friendly with, or would you rather do business with somebody who just gives you a very highly professional image? I think many of us, we would be more prepared and more willing to do business with people we feel friendly with, because we feel more comfortable with them. We feel a connection with them. Most of all, we feel that we can trust them because we like them. Like, trust, and respect. These are real commodities in the social media space. If you want people to listen to you on social media, you have to give them a reason to like, trust, and respect. And by like, I don't mean social media likes. By like, I mean really from the heart. Do they like you? Do they respect you? Right? Do they trust you? And these are real uh, commodities that you can actually create in social media, which will later translate into real business opportunities in the real world. And that's why you create social media content even in COVID-19. And we can see it, GSC doing, we can see GSC doing it very, very well. They do it very well because they know very clearly who they are speaking to. And we can see from the content, why should they listen? Because very clearly they are speaking the things that are on the audience's mind. People are screaming because we have record levels of outbreak numbers. So they put picture of Wanda screaming, Wanda from the Adventures screaming about the numbers, right? So that generates goodwill in people because they like the funny stuff that you put out that's relevant to them. And how does GSC want them to respond? Well, they can't respond with purchases, so they respond with goodwill. They respond with good relations with the brands, right? So that is the KPI now. As I said, goodwill, like, trust, and respect are real commodities that can translate into real business in the real world. So if you get them to like, trust, and respect you, then that will be really key in COVID-19 era. And we can actually verify GSC's effectiveness in getting people to like, trust, and respect them, because their merchandise for Hello cannot sold out within the day. Within the day, I myself wanted to buy and I couldn't because they were sold out. Right? So that's how much people like, trusted, and respected them. So That's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, do put it into the chat box. Manish is not here, unfortunately, so I'm not sure whether I'm able to view your comments. All right. So if there are no comments, then or questions, then I will say thank you very much for joining me this morning, and I hope that you have gained something valuable from all this. Please, oh wait. So thank you very much for joining me this morning, and I hope you really found some valuable pointers from here. Please get in touch with Manish or the Hotel Management School if you have any more inquiries or you want to find out further how we can help you with your content strategies during the COVID-19 era. Meantime, you can connect with me on Facebook, Chee Seng Writes and Thinks. Just search for this. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, search for Chee Seng Lai, or come and visit me on my website to see what I do at cheesingwrites.com. With that, I thank you very much and um, have a good day. And do keep in touch with us. Do keep in touch with us. And that is the end of our session. If there are no more questions at the time.